Welcome to Fin Business. We have Ninath Karpe with us. Sir, thank you so much for talking to Fin Business. I would like to learn a lot of things from you specifically related to financial technology. Many companies are coming in fintech business. Many entrepreneurs, many startups wants to enter into the financial technology business, and this is how we are growing in that particular area. If I'm not wrong, we have more than 500 companies operating in financial technology right now, new talent and new energies, getting into the sector. But the immediate question that comes to my mind is, what about the reskilling of the existing people? Because a lot of banks have also started adopting fintechs. New people are joining them, they are partnering with fintechs, but the question still remains the same. How are we going to reskill the existing people, those who are working in banks, those who are working in financial sector?
Very interesting question, Amol. I think, I would say India is the largest laboratory today for fintech business. You name it, India has it. Anything and everything is available. No other country has 285 million accounts which can be opened to zero balance, Jan Dhan Yojana, Aadhaar link programs, direct back, bank transfer, all of this. So if you see the overall context, India is the place to be for fintech. India is the biggest laboratory. The next Google of fintech will come from India, and it will not come from South Bombay. It will come from a small place, Bhilai. It will come from Tripura, one of the smaller places, because the amount of energy which these children have. Let me come to a specific question on skilling and reskilling. We are living in a world of rapid changes. There's rapid digitization, there's rapid automation. The financial services business was the first to embrace and adopt computerization.
True.
Other industries started much later. The financial services business has always been in the forefront of accepting and embracing technology, both. Similarly, for fintech is overlap. It is the first sector which will successfully integrate technology in its business. Because of that, whatever a person has learned in his school, college, and later training may get obsolete, may get irrelevant. But the good news is that to reskill now is far easier. One doesn't need to go to college necessarily. There are a lot of online courses available. There's a lot of peer-to-peer sharing available. I would say that if a person, we are in 2017 mid, by 2018 same time, if a person has not relearned everything connected to the new processes, digital, he or she will find it very difficult. That's how rapid the changes are. So reskilling, the question, yes, it has to happen. How? There are plenty of methods, and it is a person's responsibility to do it.
But how? And there is no one else who can give me the best perspective than you, because when you are leading Aptech, under your leadership you are skilled, not only the Indian youngsters but also the youngsters from the abroad. So how? Because that is the biggest challenge which Indian financial services institutions facing right now. So how the banks, insurance companies, you think should reskill their existing people? Because once you change that mindset of the people, perhaps things will be smoother for fintech and the technology adoption as well.
I think I can give an example. When I was CEO of Aptech, I was in Vietnam, and we went to a very small place outside of Ho Chi Minh City. So it's almost a tier 3 city of Vietnam. And I met a boy there, and he, let me cut the long story short. He said in very clear terms, I will be, he didn't say I want to be, I will be in 2 years the world's best animator. So he's in a tier 3 city in Vietnam. He said, I need only my laptop and a pipe. Pipe basically means internet connection.
True.
So that's, that boy in Vietnam, his face is still in front of my eyes, knows that you can be the very best by just applying your mind. So how does today a bank employee, let's say, working in a bank for 20 years, she wants to reskill. Say, how do I do it? The bank should pay for it. I do it. No, you have to just have firstly the willpower to understand, and firstly you have to have, accept that your knowledge will get outdated, and second, then you have to yourself make an effort. There are paid courses, there are unpaid courses, online, offline. I think the need to invest, yourself in your own skill is far greater now. I think in India we have far been used to a model where once you're in a job, in a company or bank, the company or bank pays for your skilling.
Right.
That will stop. You have to invest in yourself. That's number one. Number two, you have to change your mindset.
Okay. So, looking at the fintechs which is growing, they are majorly into the payments business. Do you believe that the fintech should also look at reskilling as one of the big area for their own businesses, because there is a need?
I think, this new fintech companies also, obviously they are up the curve at this point of time, the successful ones, and that's why they are doing so well. But that curve doesn't last long, in terms of knowledge. So even these employees who are working with a fintech company,
they will have to relearn.
They have to relearn.
Okay. So on fintech, sir, one of the interesting thing, that intrigues, and what happens is basically we have founded fintechs and we are proud of it because we are like just almost number 2 in terms of world, fintech companies. The first number is obviously China. But the shutting down of fintechs ratio is also very high. So obviously the new companies are coming into the market, and at the same ratio the companies are closing down as well. So how do you see the growth in this particular area? Why these companies are closing down?
I think there are a couple of categories of fintechs. One is, you're trying to mimic the West, which is very easy. So there's accepted successful model which has happened in some other country. You Indianize it and embrace it. So there are, and without meaning and disrespect, there are a lot of e-commerce sites in India which are fundamentally mimicked and made it into very Indian. And so that's one kind of fintech company which is there. Second is a company which is basically, in a laboratory or a coffee shop, thinking that this is what the consumer wants, and this is what we'll offer, and this is what they'll grab. That's a very Steve Jobs model where you say, I know what the consumer wants, but RIP Steve Jobs, he was Steve Jobs, So, but today, when the third one, so this first two always on a shaky ground, because I fundamentally believe that they have to be built ground up, which is what the consumer wants. I alluded to the fact of Jan Dhan Yojana program, Aadhaar program, mobile. It has to be in the crossroads of all of this, which is 100% relevant to Indian consumer in his language and what he understands. So English may not be the language for in the first place.
True.
Just to kind of throw an example at you. So I think that understanding of what the consumer really needs, the product has to be built from that upwards. And if it is built from that upwards, I have no hesitation in my mind it will be successful.
So the language is the biggest barrier. You believe that in the digital world for India? Language
is, but I don't think it's the biggest. It is a barrier, but the biggest barrier is trying to understand what the consumer wants. And that is not easy because India has regional markets. So, each market is different. Now, can we have one, universal product for the whole country? Possible. Can we have, variants of that for the region? I would bet on that. So no one is thinking in those lines. What I'm saying is, does a consumer, in Maharashtra for fintech, does he want the same thing as someone in Assam or in Kashmir? I think it's different.
So the demography, is...
Yeah. So if there's a framework, but which can be adapted to these different regional consumers, adapting to that particular need she or he has, it's possible.
Okay. So how do you see the growth in financial technology or going ahead by 2020 or in next 2-3 years? Do you feel that more companies will come, or do you feel that consolidation will happen? What is your sense?
There will be a couple of large companies, and then there will be very tiny boutique companies. I think there's no space in the middle. There will be consolidation in the middle. So either you will be, catering to very small kind of, area, very specialized area, or then it will be very large. New technologies in 2020 is a long way off, but blockchain technology, artificial intelligence, something connected to that probably is a niche area, but something which by and large is accepted by most consumers, these guys will become big guys. So there will be, but there is space for a lot of people. There is space. In the middle is the issue.
So will they become as big as banks or bigger than banks?
Possibly bigger. Possibly bigger, because I think the way we are embracing mobile, it will be bigger. In 2020, can we predict what will happen to mobile and banking? It's very difficult. We will certainly have something much better than the mobile phone. What shape and form that will happen? Can you imagine a device better than the present mobile, which will make banking far easier?
how exactly do you see banking in 2020? Do you see less people working in banks? Do you see branches closing down? Do you see fintechs are the one who's ruling the entire financial services industry?
I think one of the things which will happen is a lot of these banks have so much network and so much scale and so much depth of resources. I think they will start turning over very fast. And if they start embracing all these new ideas, new technology, things will change quite rapidly. So my bet still is that a lot of these large banks will rapidly change course. And once they do that, the smaller guys, smaller fintech companies will start figuring out where is the place under the sun for them. So I don't believe banks will close, but I believe fundamentally, the progressive banks will certainly take a different, turn.
Lastly, since you have been to so many countries, I would like to take your sense on what is the financial model, what is the financial technological model which many countries have adopted, and it has become like a career for them.
So India is way ahead of the curve in terms of the options available here. I think we jumped one cycle. The kind of rate of adoption of the mobile phone because of availability and the cost factor has got a unique platform for us to really make a big difference. I think India cannot be compared with any other country. In terms of the model which we have. US, Europe have a very different model. In Africa, of course, in Kenya, the model of mobile banking is very successful. It's a very local model. It has worked very well in Kenya and some other countries, but it has not worked so well in many other countries.
True.
So I think a universal model is difficult, but from an Indian perspective, the intersection of all these forces will ensure that India is on the cutting edge or leading edge of fintech business.
Okay, so we'll stop here on that note and let's hope for the best. I believe that India will grow, fintechs will grow in this country, and by 2020 we'll have a better future with advanced technology. Thank you very much for sharing your thoughts, sir. Thank you very much for talking to FinBusiness.
Thank you.
Thank you.